In section 5.2, we talked about how to use specific reasons to prove statements true. Now, those statements can be geometric, using different angle properties, or they can be algebraic, solving an equation and then explaining what you did. And so notice how the problem on the left kind of looks like a T-table. And the question says, you're given two intersecting lines. So I have two intersecting lines here in the picture. And the measure of angle 1 is 6x plus 45. So I'm going to mark that in the picture, 6x plus 45. And I'm given that the measure of angle 3 is 9x plus 15. So I'm also going to write that in the picture. Now, it wants us to prove using statements and reasons that x is equal to 10. Now, when your last statement is a variable equals a specific number, that means that throughout the statements, you are going to have to solve an equation. Now, notice how the statements are all given to you. You do not have to fill out the left side of the T-table. You have to give me the reasons as to why you are doing every step. So think of this just as you're explaining every step given one of these bullet points to the right. Now, statement A says two intersecting lines with the measure of angle 1 equaling 6x plus 45 and the measure of angle 3, which equals 9x plus 15. What we talked about in class is that first statement is actually our exact given. And if you notice over here on the reasons, given is one of the reasons. So reason A is given, and we know this piece over here because it was given to us. Now, if we look at statement B says that angle 3 is congruent to angle 1. Now, in order to process that, you might want to go look at the picture and ask yourself, well, why can I say that angle 3 is equal to angle 1? What about those angles, or what about this picture allows us to say that angle 3 and 1 are congruent? Now, the reason is one of the following: the division property, subtraction property, vertical angles are congruent, and substitution property. Since angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles and they're congruent, the reason to be is going to be vertical angles are congruent. Now, you want to write that statement out. Okay. Now, the next piece says 9x plus 15 equals 6x plus 45. Now, where did that come from? Well, if I look at my picture, angle 3 is 9x plus 15, and angle 1 is 6x plus 45. So all I did from going from step B to C is use the substitution property, or substitute those values into my equation. So this part is the substitution property. Okay. Now, if you kind of notice, I only have 2 bullet points left, but 3 reasons. It must have cut off wrong, so we're just going to have to add a specific reason. Now, what did they do to go from step C to step D? Well, if you compare, what you'll notice is that this 6x is not on the right side of the equation anymore. And the 9x turned to a 3x. So if you think back to the solving equation properties, when you have letters on both sides, how did I get that 3x? Well, I subtracted 6x on both sides. Looking at our reasons there, the subtraction property is one of them. Now, how did I go from step D to step E? How did I get rid of this plus 15? Well, I subtracted it on both sides. Now, that's where this comes from. We're going to have to use the subtraction property again. So I subtracted once again. Okay. Now, my last step, how did I get x by itself? What did I do to solve that equation? I divided by 3. Notice that last property right there is the division property. And Our reasons column is all filled out, and our statement column is all filled out. Now, you're going to want to do that for all of the proofs. Use the box of reasons and fill in the blanks as you go.